We just don't know. I don't know if police know that at this point or not. I believe we have Corin Hoggard now, who is kind of in at the command center. That is where the governor is monitoring the manhunt that's ongoing here. I believe the governor's kind of in the area behind you there, Corin. Bring us up to speed.
Karen and Kelly, he has been just over there getting updates throughout the day, but as of 5 minutes ago, he just took off. You guys know I'm the Capitol reporter for Fox 9, so I feel like I should probably reset the political nature of what happened here. This gunman had a manifesto when he went to Brooklyn Park. As Karen was first to report, there were 4 pages there. There were 70 names or so listed on there, and those were almost entirely Democratic lawmakers and people involved in the abortion issue on the side of abortion rights. So that is kind of the background on who this guy apparently decided to target. Also had some of those No Kings flyers that looked handmade written around in his car. The suspect is also a member of the governor's Workforce Development Board. That is a board of a few dozen people, about 60 folks who are appointed by the governor. I talked to his staff members. This is not a cabinet position. It's not a position involving interviews. In fact, it's a position where it's typically a recommendation from the business community that gets you placed on that board, although the governor eventually is the one responsible for appointing them. The governor has no interaction with this person, and as far as his staffers know, he's never had any interaction with the suspect. And so this is not a board like a cabinet. It is not something the governor controls. It is something the legislature has created, and the governor theoretically puts some folks on there. There is, I think I mentioned before, there are like 60 members. There's an executive committee of about 8 members. He's not one of those members. Those are the folks who come forward with a report from all of their meetings and make recommendations for what the legislature might do to help the Minnesota State workforce and the business community. But again, Vance Boelter was not a member of that executive committee. He has been on that Workforce Development Board since 2016, appointed by Governor Dayton, then reappointed by Governor Walz in 2019. His time on that board, though, from folks who were on the boards, his time there was not really noticeable from what they have said. Talking again about, Senator Hoffman and Speaker Emerita Hortman. I wanted to mention something I mentioned before about the Hoffman situation there in Champlin at the House there, where he went and targeted Senator John Hoffman, who is the Senate chair of the Human Services Committee, where they cut about $270 million out of the budget that they just passed. Senator Hoffman and his wife Yvette were at home. Their daughter Hope was with them, and according to a nephew, they were shot 6 and 5 times respectively. Mrs. Hoffman apparently shot more because she literally dove in front of their daughter Hope. Hope is an adult, but she has spina bifida and was at home with her parents there, and maybe her life was literally saved by her mother, Yvette Hoffman, in this shooting. But both of them have been in surgery and have gotten out. Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark, unfortunately did not survive the shooting. Melissa Hortman, speaker since 2019, right up to this year, so that's 3 sessions. She was Speaker Emerita this session, so she's the top Democrat in the House. It was tied, but Speaker of the House was Lisa Damuth, the Republican, because of the complications at the beginning of the session, where the Democrats actually didn't even have a 67th member at first because of a man who ran and won despite not living in a district. And so that led to the 23-day standoff. Speaker Emerita Hortman led her caucus in a walkout and kept them away as they negotiated the power structure of the House. She eventually gave in and agreed to have Lisa Damuth, the Republican, as the Speaker of the House. But then throughout the session this year, Melissa Hortman's voice was nearly as important as the Speaker of the House, Lisa Damuth. Throughout her career, just 21 years in the legislature, just widely recognized as just a superb legislator. I witnessed her for 3 years as a superb communicator, a great negotiator, a strong leader, occasionally a humorous person, but very serious as well. Sometimes, very cunning, but sometimes just warm as could be. And, over the course of maybe 100 conversations, I don't have a friendship with her, but I definitely had a relationship with her. And she was definitely somebody who cared about the job that she did. She cared about, the media, making sure that they could do their job. And she cared about her community, and I think you heard that reflected in the voices of Republicans we've talked to throughout the day, including former Representative Pat Garofalo, who said she'd probably be, she'll go down as the most influential speaker in the history of Minnesota, and that is saying something. Over the course of 94 legislative sessions, with her as Speaker for 3 and Speaker Emerita for 1, that's a huge compliment to her work in this legislature. And I don't know what more to say about her. She was everything that you probably wanted in a legislator, especially if you're a Democrat. But even if you're a Republican, you respected the work she did.
Corin, I know you're at that Blaine Command Center. You've been there for hours now. Are we expecting another update tonight? Is it only if there's an update to give? What are you hearing?
Yep, there are no planned updates. However, they're still here for the most part monitoring the situation. As I said, the governor left about 8 minutes ago, but if there is a major development, they'll come back out here. They will give us about a 30-minute heads up. And I think you can guess what a major development is as far as they're concerned. So that's the only situation in which we're going to get a press update here, but not planned to do anything else here. They kind of came out here a couple of times, once to set the scene and one more time because they had some critical information that they wanted to share about the suspect and try to get him out there with that identification, some of those photos. And then later they'd come in and out, just like not on camera, but to give us mini updates like, hey, the FBI has set up that $50,000 reward, or hey, Senator John Hoffman is, expected to survive. Little tidbits like that. But, even the press conferences that we had were relatively brief, and some of us in the media were commenting on, wishing we had a chance to ask more questions. But, it's one of those situations where, the investigation by the BCA, DPS, et cetera, they probably don't want to reveal too much. So that, in case, this guy is watching somewhere and figuring out how to better hide, or if people are helping him potentially, they don't want that. I did find his phone number and tried to call him, but it went straight to voicemail.
Well, yes, I imagine that he wouldn't be open to media phone calls, but thank you for trying, Corin. Obviously, Melissa Hortman will be remembered as a wonderful human being, a wonderful lawmaker that it seems like everyone loved and adored. Thank you, Corin, very much.
Across the board, and let's not forget a mom and a wife. She has 2 adult, her and her husband are leaving behind 2 adult children as well. And we know that Senator Hoffman also, he and his wife, they have a daughter, an adult daughter as well. Again, the good news update there is that they both are expected to survive. We don't know the extent of their injuries. We know they are significant, each of them being shot 5 to 6